I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncers' guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's fight day in the capital at the O2. I'm joined by Ben Davison, obviously part of Team Fabio Wardley now, established member of Team Wardley. Just talk to me about his progression that you've seen at the gym and, of course, about his fight tonight with Michael Coffey.
Yeah, Fabio's a very dedicated athlete, very nice guy as well. Pleasure to work with him and Rob. He's committed. Studious kind of guy, so I enjoy working with him, and I believe he's forever developing. Michael Coffey tonight, dangerous guy, can obviously punch, but I believe that Fabio's skill set should be a difference there. He's coming in shape. I didn't expect him to come in the shape that he's coming at. Look, heavyweight boxing, so anything can happen, but I believe that Fabio's got a plan. And as I said, he's a dedicated guy. He's a good listener. And I believe that Fabio will go out there and execute what he needs to execute to come out with a win. On a fantastic opportunity for him as well on the co-main for this Anthony Joshua card. Not co-main, sorry, chief support for this Anthony Joshua card.
Yeah, definitely a big occasion for him. The O2 will be packed when he gets in the ring tonight. Looking back at that fight with Nathan Gorman, I mean, that was a 50-50 going into it. If not, a lot of people were actually picking Nathan Gorman to win that fight. Is that what you expected, though, for Fabio to get that job done in emphatic fashion? Is that what you guys were envisioning?
Yeah, like Fabio's a dangerous puncher. So I did expect the fight to potentially go that way. I mean, it was a little bit scrappier than what I would have liked it to have been in an ideal world. It was a great win for Fabio, great win for Rob as well. British champion against a quality fighter in Nathan Gorman. And as I say, he's an always developing fighter, and he's doing a great job. Rob's doing a great job, and he's developing along very, very nicely.
Of course, Rob and Fabio have this long relationship that goes way back, and they know each other very well. And he's developed Fabio in recent years. So, as I said, you've joined the team. What do you feel like you've added to Fabio? Something hopefully you have done. What do you feel like you've added to Fabio's arsenal, if you like?
I would probably say just more than anything, I give him drills, what I think he needs to work on, or scenarios that I think will occur in the fight, and him and Rob will go away and continually practice those. As the fights get bigger and bigger, the more he's coming into the gym. But I work with Rob, and Rob obviously is Fabio's coach. I help him put together a game plan and some drills, and like I say, they go away and they work on those things, and Fabio executes on the night.
Yeah, he fights Michael Coffey tonight. What do you expect from Coffey? I'll be honest, I haven't seen a great deal of him. I know he's had one sort of step up in America. I think it was his last fight on television. But yeah, what are you expecting him to present tonight for Fabio?
Yeah, he's a dangerous guy. He beat a guy called Damani Rock, who was, I think, a youth amateur world champion. He was supposed to be a top prospect. He beat Damani Rock. Lost twice to Jonathan Rice, who always gives everyone a bit of a hard night. He's a versatile guy. He can box orthodox, he can box southpaw, big unit. He can punch, plays his jab and his hook off of each other well, and plays his left hand to the body and upstairs off of each other well when he's southpaw. So, there's lots of things that we've had to cover in a short amount of time. But, there's certain elements to his game that I believe Fabio can exploit, and that's what he'll be looking to do.
Fabio seems like a very level-headed guy, composed, calm sort of character. He's got the whole country calling him out at the moment. Fraser Clark, David Adelaide, which these guys have to do because he's the British title holder, so he's got a target on his back. What have you made of the call-outs from both Fraser and David, and potentially those matchups in the future for Fabio?
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it, to be honest. But like you say, that's what they're supposed to do. Fabio's British champion on a great run, 15-0 with 14 knockouts. He's been tested along the way as well with some other prospects and some tough fights that he wasn't expected to win. He's come through in great fashion. He's now chief support on an Anthony Joshua card. So, he's flying at the moment. So, like you say, that's what these guys are supposed to do.
And what do you think about those potential matchups with David and Fraser?
Like I say, I haven't looked into it too much. Fraser and Fabio sparred at my gym. It was a good spar. It was a good spar. But as well, 10-ounce gloves, it's a different ball game. So I haven't had a proper look at it. Focus is obviously, in terms of Fabio, the focus is on Michael Coffey for tonight. So
all the best to Team Wardley tonight. See, top of the bill, Anthony Joshua returns. Excited to see him back in action tonight, and what sort of test do you think Jermaine Franklin will present?
I think it depends how Anthony Joshua goes about it. He can make himself tricky. Franklin, he'll probably have a speed advantage. It looks like he's coming light. I haven't checked to see if he's coming lighter than
20 pounds lighter than Dylan White.
Yeah, so my biggest thing for Anthony Joshua is he's an explosive athlete. I think that. So I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but Anthony Joshua is a student of the game, and I think that sometimes he's took himself away from. So his foundations is the fact is his athletic capabilities. He's an explosive athlete, a powerful guy, and I think that is his foundations. And what he's looked to do is branch off from that to develop other areas of his game, which is perfect, ideal. As a coach, that's what you want. Sometimes I think where he gets so indulged into a coach's philosophy, I don't know this for a fact, but this is from the outside what it looks like to me. He gets so indulged in a coach's philosophy or beliefs, or that it's almost like, oh, this is the way, not that's the way. Whereas, rather than working and layering on top of his foundations he's already got. So I don't think it's a case of, he needs to box how he boxed against Ruiz the second time, or he needs to box how he boxed when he was coming up or when he beat Klitschko. It's developing his game for. I think I've got a Deliveroo coming in, mate. Sorry. So I wouldn't say that he has to completely change his style. It's layering, adding on top of what his foundations are. And I think that's maybe where he's been caught in an issue of losing sight of what he is or who he is, his identity as a fighter. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes about it on Saturday. Tonight, sorry. I think, again, it's not so much of a case of, what's the word I'm looking for? Completely changing what it is that he's known for and what he does. I'm going on about this because my worry is that he stands and waits too long. If he's standing in front of Franklin and he's waiting too long, Franklin may be able to cause some issues, again, with a speed advantage. He's got good punch anticipation, Franklin. He's got good timing on his jab and his jab to the body. So I think it's important that Anthony Joshua keeps Franklin under threat in between his attacks and putting his punches together. I think that's key. Not standing up and waiting too long. So I'm excited for his comeback. I think he's great for the sport. 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world, phenomenal achievements, and I'm hoping that it's a spectacular performance and he can get Franklin out of there, and then hopefully call out Tyson or whatever.
But having said what you just said there about Anthony, do you think in his own mind, perhaps over the last few years, he's been a bit lost about what maybe his best attributes are and how he should fight? Do you think he's been lost about that?
Yes, I don't know if he's lost, but that was I didn't want to go off on a tangent, but I did a little bit there, if I'm being honest. So I think that he gets so indulged and believes so much in what he's being taught. There's not much room for nuance. Oh, actually, so in this moment, it's okay for me to, for example, just so people understand what I'm talking about. I feel like in the Usyk first fight, people would say he tried to box with Usyk too much. Probably tried to play the lead hand game a little bit too much with Usyk. Then I felt like in the second fight, it was almost like he was told, no, do not engage in the lead hand with him. Time and a place, certain scenarios. Again, not playing that lead hand game for too long without a change of pace, without something to claw the initiative, without something to keep Usyk under threat. So I think, again, it's small details, isn't it? But not going away from.
Has he got that? What you're basically,
So
I
what
think,
I'm saying
talking
he's
is that.
going from one extreme to the other. I feel like,
Right,
and he
okay.
needs to find the mutual ground. So I'm hoping he's found the mutual ground here. Of, okay, I can't just constantly keep throwing maximum power, maximum velocity, and throw that with maximum volume. It's not possible. You can't do that. But then also at the other extreme where I'm going to completely base myself off of volume and be less explosive, not put my hands together as much with as much velocity. I think it's a case of time and a place. And in the moments that I'm not letting my hands go in maximum velocity with full power and being explosive, how can I keep the opponent under threat? So, yeah, it's hard for me to explain sitting here on camera, but in detail, in reality, is that's what those the best fighters with those physical attributes, that's what they do.
Do you think he's versatile enough to do that?
Yeah, 100%. Like on his way, you've seen him box a few different ways now, against Pulev, against Ruiz the second time. We saw him on his way coming up. He was that raw, explosive, looking to take everybody out with every single shot. He was that guy. So, but as you go up in levels, fights get longer, people get more durable, ask more questions back. Other areas of your game you need to develop. So I think it's my whole point in what I'm trying to make here is that I don't think he needs to completely go away from what he was doing. It's a case of understanding when to make certain adjustments, when to and layer in your game, when to add a little bit more of what he'd done against Pulev and Ruiz, and when to go have moments like what he did earlier on in his career, being that explosive, big athlete, powerful guy that he is.
When you've talked about Tyson Fury in the past, you've always mentioned his versatility, and is that where he's perhaps on a different level to other heavyweights in terms of his management at certain moments with different fighters in the ring? Is he got a different level of IQ? Tyson?
So my thing is this: Tyson worked with a lot of coaches as he was coming up. He's changed coaches as well, higher up level, but he worked with a number of coaches on his way up. The fights are not, on the way up. He's fighting against guys that he can try things against. He can work on things. He can practice things. Joshua's worked with a number of coaches now at a high level, which you're not really in a position boxing these guys to, I'm going to try. You can't go in there against Usyk and say, I'm going to try to do a little bit of this. I'll see if that works now, It's a lot harder developing your game and your craft and learning on the job at that level.
Should they have been slower with him then, Anthony?
I'm not saying they should have been slower with him. I just think, I don't know, I don't know. I just think it's a case of, I did say in this period when people were saying who should he fight next, and that I thought that I believe that now is a great opportunity for him to have a couple of fights where he can box at maybe a little bit of a lower level, like a Jermaine Franklin, and he's in a position where he can try things. But I would say that that's where Tyson's had the advantage in a sense of that's where he's learned his versatility. He's boxed full fights as southpaw. He's pressed guys, boxed guys up close, inside. He's boxed guys at distance. And that's where he really learnt his craft and learnt his game. I do think Joshua's moved quite quickly. I'm not saying that was wrong. You know, look at the job the promotional job that he's done and where he's got to. He's been absolutely phenomenal. So no one's made a mistake there. I would just say that I think that at the time where Joshua's eyes got opened in a sense of different styles of boxing or different areas of boxing or different scenarios and styles and approaches, and it was at a point in his career where he's already unified heavyweight champion of the world, you know. So I think that he's in a position now where against Jermaine Franklin tonight he can, I imagine that he will have some adjustments to his style, and you know we'll see how that plays out. I think that he'll certainly win tonight, and I just hope that it's in emphatic fashion, if I'm being honest.
I know you said there perhaps it would be a good idea to have a couple of fights at this level, Jermaine Franklin's level, etc. But this is a business. The public are going to demand big fights, especially if he looks good tonight. And Eddie has talked about, you know, for Anthony he wants Fury, Wilder, even Joyce. Maybe can you give me a quick breakdown of at this point each fight? So Fury, Wilder, Joyce, how Anthony fares in your opinion?
I don't know, because I don't know how he's going to look and what approach he's going to take tonight. So I'd have to have a look at that. But I think a key thing against somebody like Joyce, you know, very, very durable. Again, someone that's explosive. Typically, an explosive-based athlete isn't going to have the same tank as somebody like a Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce isn't as explosive, doesn't really load up, very efficient, almost, but can just keep going and going and going. So you'd have to be efficient in that fight. Positioning would be important in that fight. Being able to control the tempo would be important in that fight. I know people would say, "Oh, Joshua just let his hands go. He's going to hit Joe." But what if Joe doesn't go?
And he hasn't so far.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds in, and he's still there, still chipping away. So he'd have to be efficient in that fight. Deontay Wilder, look, he's a risk for everybody. He always has been, always will be. Again, another explosive athlete. I always remember the biggest thing that shocked me being in the corner against Deontay Wilder was the speed more than anything. And Tyson, very versatile. Again, Tyson, don't know how he'd approach the fight. So, yeah. We're first and foremost looking forward to seeing how Joshua approaches the fight against Franklin.
Ben, just talking about Deontay and Tyson, I know we spoke about this before in terms of they shared an incredible trilogy, and it'd be nice to see one day, a bit like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, where they're on chat shows in America and they're quite friendly, etc. They had that moment in Saudi Arabia a few weeks ago where there was a lot of respect. I don't know if you've seen Deontay's comments labelling Tyson a cheater again.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm sure at some point they will get to that point where they can be friends or be civil, and I suppose Deontay Wilder maybe still not over what happened, and look, he's still a live fighter. He's still fighting right now, so I think that it's hard for a fighter to accept I got beat by the better man while they're still in the midst of their career. I think that he would want, or the people around him, you need a fighter to still have that invincibility about them, that belief about them. So again, I think that the scenario may be different when the careers are over.
What do you make of, I know they've been together for a while now, Deontay and Malik Scott, but do you like that partnership?
Yeah, I think Malik's a good coach. I think they've got a great relationship as well. So I think we've not seen much. I mean, we had the Tyson fight, didn't we? The last fight with Tyson and
1 round with Haney.
Yeah, so we haven't seen much of it, but I'm sure we will do moving forward.
In terms of Tyson Fury as well, obviously the news at the moment was about the collapse of the Undisputed fight, which was a great shame for boxing fans. You've been in the business for a while now, Ben. What do you make of all the events that unfolded over the last couple of weeks?
I don't really know what happened. Back and forths on social media and that, I don't really know. I think it probably needed to stay behind closed doors. It seems like he said, she said always seems to be the breakdown of fights and social media rubbish. But at the same time, social media is what's used to build a fight as well. So, yeah, it's a fine line, but it's a shame. I do think that the public would be a lot more accepting of that fight falling through if we saw a Fury AJ, you know, at the end of the year or this year at least at some point. I think they'd be a lot more accepting. However, I think the public wouldn't be accepting of Fury going off and boxing Andy Ruiz and Usyk going off and boxing, or Hrgovic. I think Dubois injured, isn't he? I think so.
No, they've wrote to the WBO saying he's ready to go. Dubois. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Either way, like whoever, I think that they wouldn't be. The public wouldn't be as accepting if we didn't get to see one of those. 2 of the 3 or 4 Titans clash anyway.
What about the fight itself? Tyson, when talking about it, you know, the main focus point was Usyk's size or lack of it. You know, he kept calling him middleweight, etc. Obviously, that's the mind games from Tyson. But, you know, speaking to him, he was very confident in that, extremely confident in that fight, due to the size difference. How much of a factor would that have played? Maybe they do fight in the future. How much of a factor would that play? And would you fancy Tyson to beat Alexander Usyk?
Yeah, I do fancy Tyson to win the fight, but the size factor would have an impact depending on how Tyson approached the fight. I think that if Tyson tried to play the lead hand game with Usyk too much and stood off him, I think that Tyson would end up getting pushed back. I think that Usyk would mix up his left hand to the head and body, and that would push Tyson back, I believe. I think that if Tyson was more aggressive, pushing Usyk back and did eventually glove up and step 2 and press Usyk, his size would end up being a factor in the fight, and I think it would end up being the factor of the fight. So I think the approach for Tyson is very important. And I think, again, both ways. I think if Tyson is getting pushed back, the size factor will be a disadvantage. I think that if he is pushing Usyk back, the size advantage will become an advantage.
Ben, last one before we come on to your stable of fighters and current things. I will have to ask you, obviously, I remember during the Otto Wallin fight, I think, you know, the day after, when you were still with Tyson, his dad, John Fury, did have an outburst on BT and made some comments about yourself. He has made some comments about Sugar Hill this week and has said, essentially, that Sugar should leave and not train Tyson anymore. What do you make of his comments, John Fury's?
He's a passionate dad, isn't he? And he loves his son. And, you know, I think I get on with John. You know, I get on with John. Whenever I see John, we have a chat. I get on with the whole family. And I think that him not being able to be there with Tyson made it tough. And you know, he's a passionate guy, John. I think that you saw that in his outburst that he had. But you know, since then I speak and get on with John. So, and again, you know, he's passionate about his son. I don't know the ins and outs of what's been said and what's happened. And
well,
I know Sugar made a comment. I haven't seen it to say, maybe it was in this. You know, maybe it was done in a bit of a. I can't comment on how. Deliveroo's here. Let me come back to it. Yeah, John's a passionate guy. I haven't seen what was said by Sugar or how it was said or whatever to make a comment on it. But as I said, John's a passionate guy. He's an outspoken guy, and you know, I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Okay, coming on to your stable, the Maverick, Shabaz Masoud. Haven't heard anything on him in a while. So what's the latest with him?
Yeah, Shabaz had some things going on outside the ring in his personal life, but he's in Ramadan at the minute. And yeah, we've got some things floating about. Hopefully some news on Shabaz soon. You know, phenomenal fighter, future world champion for sure. Very confident in that. And yeah, again, hopefully some news soon on where his career will be going next.
Okay. We look forward to it. Young Royston?
Yeah, Royston, has been given some fantastic opportunities. Frank Warren's doing a great job with him on some great cards and some great slots on those cards as well. And Royston's been delivering, I think it's 3 first-round stoppages in a row now. So, yeah, he's working hard. He's getting in some great rounds with Joe Caldina at the minute, which is fantastic experience for him. Royston obviously being a southpaw and Joe boxing against Rakimov and them being the same weight. So that's a great experience for Royston at the minute, and he's soaking it all up as much as he can during Joe's preparation.
How does he handle that? Obviously, I know Joe's quite young himself, but he's been a world champion, looking to become a 2-time world champion. Royston's still a baby in this game. How is he in those moments when he's sparring, elite guys like Joe Caldina?
Yeah, look, he's a very confident young lad, and Joe's an absolute gentleman as well. Like, he'll push Royston, he'll push him for sure, but oh, fucking hell.
Who's that?
Hello. Hiya.
No, you're okay.
Just check if you received cleaning, everything is fine.
Yes, all good, thank you.
Thank you, sorry for that.
Yeah, you're talking about Royston and Joe?
Well, we cut that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Royston Joe, yeah. Joe's an absolute gentleman, sharing all his experience and talking to Royston after and having a discussion about, what worked, what didn't work, etc., etc. So, like I say, Royston really is soaking up all the experience that he can offer Joe.
What about the animal, Aloys Junior? How did that link up firstly come about? And yeah, what do you think of him as a potential future beast?
So a funny story. Come down the gym and sparred with Jamie TKV, who's actually been sparring with Joshua for this fight actually. And Aloys was just asking me some questions after, like, oh, what did you think? What about this? What about that? And then I mentioned a few things. I just kept asking questions. Anyway, he left, and I was actually in a McDonald's drive-thru, and he rang me up and was like, right, I've left my coach, and I need to be down there training with you. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I know what I need. I need to be down there. I need to be down there with you. So I said, look, come to the gym, we'll have a conversation. He come down the gym, and he hasn't looked back. He's a fantastic student. Again, end of every session, always asking, what's the key points for today? And he'll be writing it down. And he will practice those. And certain drills that I give him, he'll go away and he'll practice and watch the fights that I ask him to watch, or the rounds that I ask him to watch of certain fights. And he's a beast, an absolute beast. So. Yeah, I think his name's getting whispered about the gyms at the minute. So I believe there's a big future with Aloys, only 19 as well.
What's he like to watch in the ring when he's sparring?
Everybody's like, just like I say, his names are getting whispered around the gyms. He's he's an explosive guy. He can seriously punch, He's a developing fighter, and again, he's a great student. So I do believe he's got a big future ahead of him.
Pat McCormack, what's the latest with him, Ben?
Yeah, boxed on the next gen card in Newcastle. Brilliant performance. First 8 rounds. Dario Usky, what a phenomenally tough guy. But Pat, I've worked with some of the best pound for pound fighters in the world today. Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, Josh Taylor, Devin Haney, all up there, been in or in and amongst the pound for pound list. I would say that Pat has the potential to be the best that I've worked with.
Wow.
The potential to be. If he applies himself properly and he's dedicated, I think, taking into consideration the point at which we've got him in his career, from the start of his career, I think how often, with Devin, it's not a consistent year-round all the time job. I think with Pat, it's a year-round. He's always in the gym. Might have a couple of weeks off after his fight, but how consistent he can be, we can work together. I think that he has, and his natural ability as well, and the work that's been put on from the GB team and Graham Rutherford as well, leading up to him turning professional. I do believe he has the potential to potentially be the best of what I'm worked with of that bunch. So Yeah, it's exciting times. You know, my only thing is I don't want him to be moved too quickly. I think that, again, we was talking about it earlier on in this interview about Tyson and Joshua and having the opportunity to practice things and certain scenarios occurring. I think it's important he gains that experience. But I think that around 15, 16 fights would be the point where we'd be looking at world titles for him. So that's the idea. How we get there, we'll take it step by step. But yeah, if he applies himself and he's committed and dedicated, there's a special career ahead of him.
Good to hear. Billy Joe Saunders, is he making a comeback or not, Ben?
He will do. From my understanding, he will do. So we'll have to wait and see. He hasn't been in the gym at the moment, but I think he's got a gym at his place, and I think he's doing a bit of training, ticking over. So yeah, we'll see. But from my understanding, there will be a comeback.
How's the weight?
I haven't seen him for a little while, but
I was talking about you.
mine's come down the last couple of weeks, but no doubt in the next couple of weeks he'll go back up. So.
Yeah, but himself, Billy?
Yeah, like I say, I haven't seen him, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you where his weight's at.
Huge fight, May 20th, for all the belts. Undisputed, Devin Haney v Vasyl Lomachenko. How does this go, Ben?
I don't want to say too much. Obviously, we still do bits of work with Devin remotely, so I don't want to say too much on it. But yeah, you know, I believe that Lomachenko's still a phenomenal fighter. There's unbelievable fighter. But I do believe that Devin's got the know-how and the capabilities to be victorious in that fight. I think that it's important that he's very disciplined in his approach to the fight. I think that's key. Very disciplined in his approach to the fight. Don't think there's much room for error in the fight. But one that I'm confident that he'll be victorious in.
Look forward to it on May 20th in Las Vegas. Okay, Ben Davison, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck with Fabio Wardley tonight, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Thank you.
No worries, mate.
I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,